right, all right. Little technical difficulties in the morning. Phenomenal morning. Bobby Jackson, how you doing, sir?
Doing phenomenal, Coach. How are you?
Absolutely great. No complaints whatsoever. Just came back. Just got back in. It's been like a world tour, man. I promise you. Every time I go out, it's like I'm touching different places, different states, different timelines. That's the funny thing about traveling, the timelines. Right. So if you hear it, like I'm still in California. Like my voice is still in California. Trust me, when you travel consistently, you have to keep up all the time. But I wanted to go live real quick and touch the people because the revenue growth, right? The revenue piece. This morning, guys, we're going to be talking to you about revenue. Revenue. If you're into growing your business, you must know that revenue is the most important factor. I always tell people that money and cash flow is the oxygen to your business. Cash flow is the oxygen to your business. And Bobby Jackson, being a CFO, speak to that for a moment. Being a CFO and dealing with people on the financial side of the brand house and the financial side of the business, how important is cash flow to somebody's business?
Man, cash flow is everything. It's everything because it's the one thing that the business can't do without. Believe it or not, like the business can do without a lot of things. It can do without, say, sales representatives. You can be that. It can do without lights, cameras, action. All you need is a BlackBerry, as how you started out, So it doesn't require a ton of things. But one thing that it does require to scale and grow is cash flow. And the thing about cash flow is more than just revenue, and I love that we open this up this way because we need revenue to grow, but you need a certain amount of revenue to have positive cash flow. Like revenue is not enough. You need large amounts of revenue coming in at one time in order to generate positive cash flow, because cash flow is a byproduct of the cash flowing in against the cash flowing out. And a lot of times in a early stages of a business, and I mean, you're doing $250,000 a year, you're doing $500,000, or you may be doing your first 100,000. Like those expenses around that time are monumentous, and revenue needs to be aggressive enough and coming in frequently enough to create positive cash flow and not just cash flow. So it's important.
So as we begin, guys, I want you to think of where your revenue is. And right, this is the last quarter. This is the last quarter of the year. So 2023 is all but gone, right? 2023 is all but gone. It seems like just yesterday we were saying Happy New Year. It seems like just yesterday we were saying Happy New Year and people were coming with their resolutions and their goals for their business. And listen, I want to knock on the door and ask you, did you hit your number? Did you hit your number? What was your number and did you hit it? Right. And I mean that in a positive light, because if you did hit it, then you should have added a 0 to it because you probably would have hit that too. And if you didn't hit it, why did you not hit your number? Right? Why did you not hit your number? What took place inside of you to cause something to take place outside of you to cause something not to take place outside of you? Right? Because everything that flows around us comes from within us. Right? Everything that flows around us comes from within us, and the outside, the external representation of the internal realization is just that. It's a mirror image. So if your business is struggling, what's going on the inside? Did you hit your number? And if you did hit your number, why didn't you add a 0 to it? And if you didn't hit your number, what does that say? What does that say? What took place inside of you guys? I want you to think about that, and we'll be right back. Let's grow. It's very important that you know yourself to the highest degree possible, because it's through knowing ourselves that we're able to know other people. You are the most important person in the room, and the better that you know yourself, the better that you're able to communicate to others. So you're not only playing the game knowing who you are, but you're also playing the game knowing who everyone else is. so that you're not playing blind.
He's extremely engaging with people. He has a fantastic smile, and he's just very high energy person.
This is called leadership development. So we have to be independently knowledgeable and considerate to know who we are so we can more effectively know who other people are. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle. I said Shaan Rais. I'm proud. Shaan Rais. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Shaan, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and you know, game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. All right, guys. So listen, we're here talking about revenue, cash flow, and growth, economic growth, right? We chose to do the Breakfast with the Brand on a Tuesday because it's so crucial that just Saturday to Saturday doesn't quite cut it, right? Just Saturday to Saturday. People are like, well, what do I do in the middle of the week, Shaan? Like, what do I do on Wednesday? What do I do on Tuesday? What do I do on hump day, right? You're coming in on Saturday, but after Sunday, we have to start again on Monday. And it's like, I forgot what happened. How do I apply this to my business every single day? So I said, you know what? Let me jump on in the middle of the week and speak to you about one of the most important levers in your business. One of the most important leverage points in your business, right? This is not to hype you up. We're not going to do the rah, get you excited stuff. I just want to talk to you about real cash flow. What's going to change your business? What's going to move the needle and allow you to service more clients, allow you to live the life of your dreams and pay for the things and the people that you're responsible for, right? Because excitement doesn't do that. Excitement doesn't do that. That's great that you're excited. It's great that you're hyped up and you feel some kind of way, but feelings and financial solidarity are two different things completely. So I'm going to take you out of the emotional realm and bring you into the economic realm. Right. I want to bring you to reality. Instead of the rah-rah this morning, we're going to do the reality check. And I ended the last segment with, did you hit your number? Did you hit your number? And one thing that you hear me say all of the time that has kind of become synonymous with the Shaan Rais brand is adding a 0. Adding a 0 to you, adding a 0 to your leadership, your confidence, and your profits. And I wanted to bring Bobby Jackson out for this segment specifically because he's done something pretty amazing for the past 3 years in a row. I mean, I have a lot of clients. Some organizational, some individual. I work with multiple different sectors. I work with multiple different segments and verticals when it comes to business and business development. So we have a lot of different clients and a lot of different business with a lot of different business models, some virtual, some physical. But this this case study is pretty remarkable by any standards. And I don't want to take it away, and I don't want to give you exactly what took place. So I want Bobby to speak to that for himself. Bobby, what's taken place in your business for the past 3 years over and over again?
Yeah. Thank you for that remarkable introduction, by the way. It was amazing to hear, the coach that's helped you get through it see you the way they see you. So it's rare that I see myself that way when I'm in the actual thick of it. But 400% revenue growth will do that to you. When it's coming so fast, it's moving so fast. That's what happened. I was able to scale the business by 400% growth in revenue for 3 consecutive years. This year being very positioned to do more than 400%. We're right on the cusp of 400 right now, and we still have 2.5 months left. If we just wake up, we hit it, and I think we might actually hit it today with what we have on the rolls. So with that being said, it's been a remarkable experience because you truly do have to add a zero to every aspect of your life. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without the brand. I had to add a zero to my leadership. I had to add a zero to manhood. I had to add a zero to fatherhood. I had to add a zero. Did I say leadership already?
Yes,
Right. To my leadership.
Yes,
Like
you
that.
did.
And that's the one that keeps revolving because it was almost like you have to lead you first before you can lead anyone else. And then you have to manage what you are in direct control over. So it was almost like I had to add a zero to my sphere of influence, which is really exciting because at first, so a little bit more background, not too much. I was in the Marine Corps while a lot of this happened. So this was the first year that I had been able to run my business full time. So imagine 400% growth year after year while having the yoke of a 9 to 5 on you. So it was doing those types of numbers despite a demanding job such as military service, and I was a high-ranking service member during those years. So it was a lot going on.
Wow. So let me just make it clear for everybody. You're not talking about 400% over the course of 3 years.
No, that's
So over the course of 3 years, you're basically saying 1,200% growth.
right, and that's using simple compounding, because if we really did the compounding interest mathematically, we'd be a little bit higher. So it's really interesting.
Wow. What would you say is the major contributing factor to being able to do something like that?
Yeah, I would say the major one is willingness to commit to the process. Like I had a few things in my mind, but I was like, okay, which one could sum it all up? I think the willingness is really important because there'll be some things that you're asked to do that you might not be willing to do. And if you're not willing to do them, then, it doesn't work. Then commitment is that second piece, is you've got to really make up your mind. That was a tough one for me, just like deciding on things and just staying with those things. And then it was process. And the process is just the time it takes. So for me, I realized that if you can do those 3 things kind of summed up into one thing, it was willingness to commit to the process. If you're a spirit of willingness, a determined and disciplined approach of commitment, and you just let the process work itself out, you'll get the results, guaranteed.
All right, guys, you heard it here first. I mean, I look in different verticals. I exist in multiple different industries, and like I said, having my fingers to the pulse of multiple different industries, multiple different influencers and influential business models, 400% revenue growth year after year after year is pretty remarkable by anyone's standards. It's pretty, and the fact that it's the 3rd year running, it means that it's something that I said early on. I remember when I began going live, and I said one of the differences between what we do and what company A, B, or C does is that it's sustainable. It's sustainable. And that was kind of a term that, people weren't using in this business model. It's something that I brought from, the education and the renewable energy space. Sustainability, because it's without inflection. So the opposite of sustainable is not remainable, right? So it's not going to happen. It's fleeting. So people get a quick pop in business and then they fizzle out. They don't keep it going. There's ups and downs like an EKG machine. But when you have the kind of hockey stick continual growth, explosive growth, and then continual growth, it defies logic, because logic would say, okay, this happens in the economy, revenue dips. This happens within the ecology, revenue dips. This happens in consumer psychology, and revenue dips. Revenue goes up and down, commiserate with the economic shifts that we face every day in the country that we live in, or in the vertical that we exist in. Right. So I guess my question to you would be, how do you think, and how can the listeners begin to wrap their mind around consistent growth no matter what the conditions of the market?
Wow. I love this question, because me and my wife were discussing something similar to this morning, just in a completely different way. But she pretty much said, do you know what's going on over there on the other side of the world? Over in Israel, you all know.
Yes.
I honestly said, I have no clue. I have no clue. And I wasn't intending to be, unempathetic or not aware, but it was like, if I were to direct my energy there in a sphere of influence outside of my own, then what good does it do to me? And I've found that anytime I do that, because I had to develop this over time, that anytime I direct my energy towards things and my attention towards things that are outside of my sphere of influence, it's a waste of energy in many instances. But so what I've learned to do with revenue growth and sales and business is lock in. Stay in your space, in your sphere of influence. And I think as business owners, we can make this easy for ourselves when we assign a name to our why. And you taught me this years ago. It's like, hey, put a name on it. So I have a name for my why as far as my family is concerned and why I grind the way I do, but I also have names for my ideal clients and pictures and say photos of them. And when you have a name, I believe, assigned to why you're doing what you're doing, it's so much easier to focus. So I would tie that piece up by saying it requires a level of just focus to really sum it up. You've got to be laser focused on what it is you're trying to do, not even trying, what you're doing. Because if you're doing the work, the result, what do they say? Money follows movement. Action is the only thing that kind of really means anything, results. So as long as you are focused on getting the results, you rarely have time to do anything else. So I have found that works phenomenally. Focus, block out.
Focus, locking in, and repelling all outside distractions, right?
Yeah.
It's funny because, traveling, you hit the gym, right? So I'm in the gym yesterday morning before we got on the flight, like 5 o'clock in the morning. And this was the longest time running that I had ever paid attention to what is taking place, right? Not because of, willful disacknowledgement, right? Not because of that, but because of extreme focus and hypersensitivity to what's going on within my market, in my business, like everyone, right, should be, predisposed to have bias towards where they exercise the sphere of influence. But while I was working out, the news was on, so you couldn't miss it, right? And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'm like, okay, so these things are developing and these things are, undeveloping or unraveling, right? And they were speaking about the impact that those things going on over there could have in this country and economically. And You know, there's a different level of confidence. There's a different level of confidence knowing that you're somewhat insulated from whatever takes place because of the gift of business development and understanding what it is to have your own business model, and exist in that space. It's almost like, what do they call it? Immunization. It's almost immunization to what takes place outside of you. So we're not like entrepreneurs who are self-sufficient, independent, and insulated do not go through the same things that other individuals, say employees, do. Right. So this is why I tell people all of the time, you want to really examine and evaluate your education, experience, and expertise and see if there's a way to marry your competence to your confidence so you can make that trek across the bridge and get over to the impact, the income, and the independence. And a lot of, when I say independence, I mean it in a lot of forms. There's physical independence, there's economical independence, but then there's also independence from fear. Independence from fear and being distracted by social unrest and things of that nature. Let me ask you a question real quick before we go to the break. Had you still been in the military, how much attention would you have to have had focused on this situation overseas?
Easily 80%.
Mm.
Easily. Because I remember being in the Marines not too long ago. It was like a year or two ago. And one of the things that we have to deal with now is what we call the Purple Dragon. And the Purple Dragon is OPSEC, operational security, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much when we do things in the Marine Corps, in the military, you've got these young Marines that are being influenced by the media. Then you've got the operations that we're doing within the military, preparing for things that could pop off. And then you've got these junior Marines posting and like talking about things. They don't know what's harmless. They don't know what's not. I've had secret clearances and other clearances. So when I was in that state, if what was going on right now was obviously going on and I was a staff sergeant of Marines, I would have to know what my Marines are posting, why they're posting it, what their perspective is, who's deploying on it, am I deploying on it, what does the physical fitness need to be like, do I have enough money for my wife to do what she needs to do if I'm gone for 6 months to 12 months at a time, have my Marines properly discuss what life and death could look like if they're in this position. When I was in the service, I had a very huge responsibility as a staff non-commissioned officer.
And now being in the position of 400% revenue growth year after year and being on the third year of it, to where it's actually, like you said, if you hit the 400 today, you've got 2 months, 2.5 months, a little bit more to go over 400%. What does that do for your, I guess, your nerves, like your state of peace and mental health? Like, what does that look like?
It's surreal. It's surreal because I don't even feel it. Like when you say insulation, it's real insulation. It's almost like I love the way you taught me this. You said it's nothing like being able to afford your own opinion. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's what I'm feeling right now. I get to choose what I will allow into my mind, you know, and sometimes we can be in positions where we don't have the option to, or the choice rather,
that's
to
right,
of what's going to be bombarded upon us. Because before you get shipped out on a deployment, we go through what's called a workup. And in that workup, you're bombarded with the culture that you're about to be integrating into. You're bombarded with the potential threats that could happen and how to engage those threats so that you can survive those threats. We're bombarded with all types of turning kits, and that's to stop bleeding and stuff like that. first aid, medevacs, brushing up on our 9 lines. The 9 line is what you call in if a Marine goes down and you need to call in air support or something. So there's so much information that's bombarded upon you, and you don't have the option not to consume it, because if you don't, a brother or sister might not come home. So when you put that in perspective, it's almost like you're obligated to give up almost 80% of your mental capacity for things that oh, go ahead, Coach.
No, you know what I heard, because there's things that people say, and then there's things that I hear or infer from what's being said. So the word that I heard, you used the term option. You don't have the option. But what I heard is that you don't have the freedom. You don't have the freedom to choose what's being supplanted into your conscious and subconscious to deal with the situation. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because, I believe that no discipline and way too much freedom is a bad thing. I think there should be parameters. I think there should be boundaries. I think there should be discipline and things that you have to do, because it translates into business. And when we come back, that's what we're going to talk about. I want you to speak to the OPSEC piece. And I also want you to speak about the work up and how that applies to business and revenue growth specifically. Let's grow. The reason why I did this and what I do is help leaders to become brands and brand themselves. You train people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. I teach authenticity marketing. If people can take advantage of you, they will in your personal or professional existence.
My biggest takeaway just from day one is you are the brand. I would recommend it to anybody that's really looking to build a personal brand.
Just the brand in general has changed my life. I've grown so much since I've been a part of this.
I see myself in what he does, and I believe in it just as much as I believe in myself.
Business is like a game of chess. It's not checkers. If you don't know how to lead with a personal brand, then you're losing the battle.
Everything about Shaan's talk was fantastic. I mean, I got so much from it.
So he was really bringing fire and passion and just love and spirit to let everybody else know how do you become a leader amongst the leaders.
You hold the key in your hand. There is more power in this phone than there was that took the first man to the moon.
His energy, his dynamic information, gave a really great presentation.
I didn't ask for any money. I didn't have an offer. I had a heart to help people and meet them where they were at and find their need and fulfill it.
Shaan is the bomb.
I don't talk theory. I don't talk hyperbole. I don't talk opinion. Nothing I talk is anything but evidence-based.
During the G-Circle retreat in Atlanta, I had the pleasure and the honor of listening to Mr. Shaan Rais. He will not only impact your organization, but he will elevate your team to another level.
When you change you, when you put you into the equation, the whole system is different. I guarantee you, you got the right thing. You are the right person. If you can present yourself in the best way possible, there's no negotiation.
His energy is infectious, and I have so many takeaways from the presentation that I can't wait to get started and implement them today to see the result.
All right. So you guys are back right now. Phenomenal morning breakfast with the brand. I am your host, Shaan Rais. I am accompanied by the phenomenal Bobby Jackson, fractional CFO extraordinaire. And we were talking about the compounding and the sustainability of 400% revenue growth year after year after year. And then during the last segment, Bobby said a couple terms. He used a couple terms. And those terms kind of piqued my interest. So one of the terms was work up. where you're getting ready to go to war. And I always say that business is war, and it's spiritual as well. So when you're getting ready to go into that space, as many of you are in business and at war right now, or even in your employment situation and looking to make a defection and building your business on the side and trying to, walk across that minefield into your own independence. And then he also used another term called OPSEC. And I wanted Bobby to kind of utilize those terms in relation to business and revenue growth specifically.
Man, this is creating so many emotions for me. So during the break, I wanted to go and get this this book. So I don't know if you guys know what that is, but that is a battle, Iwo Jima specifically. But inside of here, I know you guys can't see that, but Platoon 1089, there are about 60 to 70 people. And that was my platoon. That was the platoon that trained me to become a United States Marine. And this is my yearbook for almost 12 years ago when I enlisted in the Marine Corps. Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Parris Island, South Carolina. And I thought it was so nostalgic when we talk about workups and OPSEC, because that was my first workup. I joined during a time of war. We were, I forget what war we were coming out of, but the ribbon that I earned when I came in was the Global War on Terrorism. So it was during the Saddam Hussein era, it was during the Bin Laden era that I joined the military. And during that time, workups were kind of in constant rotation. So what happens in a workup, and then how it connects to business so beautifully, is that the workup prepares you by training you. So there's a thing we say in the Marines that says, train how you fight. So when we go through the Marine Corps, we are yelling throughout boot camp, like to the top of our lungs, screaming. And once we adopt that, we know that we can open our throats. We can really yell. And then we carry our rifles everywhere. Like you sleep with it. No exaggeration. It's on your rack and you boom, 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 tie it up and put what's called a cable through the barrel so that you can't fire it. But at the end of the day, the moment you wake up and you're not in the head, meaning the restroom, that thing is attached to some part of your body. And we keep our rifle with us. So when you keep your rifle with you, they say in the Marine Corps, every Marine's a rifleman. When I joined the Marine Corps, we didn't have scopes on the gun, on the rifles. We had what are called iron sights. So I could hit, now this sounds a little great, but I really want to put this in perspective for you. And we do what we do to protect our country. But I can hit a human being from 5 footballs or fields away with no scope consistently. I had iron sights. Give me a doggone M16, no scope, and an iron sight, and I can hit you from 5 football fields.
Wow.
Clean.
Wow. Woo. Yeah. So let's make the pivot now. How does that ability, that mentality, that psychology translate into business? How can people, make the connection?
And it was a perfect pivot. Like soon as you pivoted me, that's perfect, because what we train to do when we do that is to look at the iron sight and not at the target. So when you are learning to shoot, we have shooting fundamentals. One of those shooting fundamentals is butt stock in the high part of the shoulder. So that means you want to butt stock nice and firm in your shoulder. We have another thing that says slow, steady trigger squeeze. You want to pull the trigger back slowly. And if you pull it back too hard, you'll jerk the trigger. And if you jerk the trigger, if you're 500 football fields away from something, the further you are away from it, the greater the, man, I don't want to go too deep. So if I'm close to something and I'm shooting it and I'm at point blank range, I have a lot of room for error. The more I back up, the more wind affects the bullet, the more that the trajectory affects the bullet, the more that every subtle thing that I do with my body affects where that round lands. So the further I am away, the more control I have to have over the fundamentals. So we're getting all of this is connected to business.
Okay.
So when I am 500 football field or 5 football fields away, I'm aiming at the target. I have to have the high firm pistol grip. Boom. I have to have a slow, steady trigger squeeze. Boom. I have to have a high firm pistol grip. Boom. I have to pull the trigger at what's known as your natural respiratory pause. So as human beings, we breathe in and out. There's a moment you're breathing right now. When you exhale, there's a pause right before you inhale. And at that pause, you are still as possible. We learn to shoot right there. Boom.
You know, there's something there's something so interesting about that, because you look for that pause during meditation. When you meditate, they'll say, you know, concentrate on the breathlessness, because a lot of, meditation is on the breath. Watch the breathing, count the breathing, but then there's the pause, like you said, right after the exhale and before the inhale. So I never knew that. That's when you actually fire.
And here's the thing, like when I tell you guys I use this all the time, this psychology, while I was building the business to get the growth, is they say if the shot doesn't surprise you, you anticipate it. I'll say that again. I'll say it in business terms. If the money you generated does not surprise you, you are too focused on the money. If the shot that you pulled did not surprise you, you are too focused on the shot. So when we're shooting, if I'm anticipating the round, there's this thing called recoil. So recoil is when the gun kicks back because of the force being exerted for the round to come out. In business, those are investments. When the investments go out, the recoil hits you. Bop, 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 you feel it. And it hits you in your shoulder, which is why you have to have a high, firm pistol grip, and your shoulder, you need to harness that thing or holster it. So in business, it's the same concept. It's like I have to have a nice, firm shoulder saying no matter how much recoil I take, I'm keeping my shoulder here, and you'll be bruised up. Like if you do this right and you have your flak jacket on, you're going to walk purple. But the rounds were on range. The rounds were on target, and that's what's really important. So back to the surprising you piece. When you do this properly and you hit the natural respiratory pause, what's happening is, so the trigger has a weight to it real quick. And I want to give this to you guys because it's so many things that your business does when it comes to this. So it's like in business, you have the process of sales. You've got marketing, and then you've got sales. So marketing is sending you to the sale. Branding, adding a zero to you, branding you, not what you do. All of these things are marketing, components that lead to phenomenal sales aspects. So in business, we have this, or in the Marine Corps in shooting, we call it marksmanship. In marksmanship, we have this thing where the trigger squeeze would be marketing. The high firm pistol grip is marketing. The buttstock in the high part of the shoulder is marketing. All of these things need to be done first and properly, or you won't get the round on target. And here's the last thing that I'll say before we move forward and turn it back over to you, Coach, is that we have this thing called zeroing. Don't you love that, Coach? Add a zero. We have this thing in the Marine Corps called zeroing. So when you zero, what you do is you're trying to identify what we call a shot group. So if I'm up close on my target, I'm about 25 yards away when I'm zeroing. 25 yards for a rifle is nothing. Like you're really, really close. So at this 25 yards pace, I'm looking over my iron sight, and I'm pulling the trigger 3 times. Now, fundamentals matter. Fundamentals matter. In business, the basics matter. You gotta have the website, the book, like all the things that I didn't do, right? Like it took me a while to do the things, but everything that I did right, my shot group got better. So let me give you guys this. So in when you are zeroing your weapon, what you're trying to identify as a shot group. So what we say is 2 shots and then adjust. So what I'm doing is I'm going to pull shot 1. Boom. I'm aiming for the black. If I hit black and I follow the fundamentals, that means that my weapon system is accurate. Now I'm going to shoot another shot. Boom. If I shoot another shot and that shot is in the white and it's not in the black, one or two things are happening right now. Either I messed up because I didn't follow the fundamentals, so my shot was off, or my weapon system was flawed. Like my iron sight is off or my weapon system is off. So I fire a third shot. Boom. When I hit that third shot, I should have what's known as a group. And then I triangulate that. So if my group is tight, then I move everything on my sight to the left if all of my shots hit slightly right. If all of my shots hit slightly high, I move it down. So the last piece is a coach. I was a coach on the range. I was a rifle range coach. And you need a coach. The coach
Come on, Bobby. Come on, bring it home. Let's go. Let's go. Come on.
The coach's job is to look at you from the outside, to be a master of the fundamentals and give you the in-game assistance you need to execute. We had a data book. Here's my data book. We call this a brand planner for those that don't know.
Come on, let's go.
In the Marine Corps, coach, it's so funny. In the Marine Corps, they look just like this. They're just smaller. They look just like this. Ring and everything. The same laminate paper, everything. It's just
unbelievable. Oh.
Yeah.
You know, guys, this is so amazing. Like, and I'm so glad that we're having this time together. We don't do anything scripted, just so you're aware. Like, we don't know where it's going to go. I did know that I wanted to speak to the 400% revenue growth year over year, because that's just amazing. But the kind of correlations that we're drawing between business, the fundamentals, the tools that we use, the technology, the technological psychology that we use in the leadership leverage and in the Marines was not the topic. And for those on the outside, I mean, for those on the inside, it's eerily similar, right? It's eerily similar, and some could say even scary what the similarities are. But business is war. And if you don't have it down to a science, and those hair fractures mean everything. So I am extremely, extremely militant when it comes to discipline and focus and paying attention to the system. So what I heard you say was with the triangulation and the 3-shot piece, I heard first the psychology may be off or your system may be off.
Yep.
That's what I heard, right? It's either your thinking or your system, and you check the thinking, check the system, and it's systematic. That's what people don't understand. Scale is simple. Scale is systematic. Scale is doing the same thing over and over again. It's very boring, actually. It's not exciting. So the rah-rah stuff that you guys think are going to help you go to the next level or not. As a matter of fact, that's the deviation. That's the deviation away from the topic and away from the target. What's going to get you dead center is lying still, doing the same thing over and over again, and refining, fine-tuning, and removing the hairline fracture, detecting what the hairline fracture is, and then making the correct adjustment. It's very systematic, it's very routine, and it requires so much discipline that most people won't make it. And this is also why people go for the rah-rah as opposed to the routine, and go for the excitement as opposed to the discipline. However, the discipline is what gets you results. And it's the only thing that gets you results in business. So interesting. So interesting this
I
morning.
have one piece, Coach, that
Yeah,
I wanted
please.
to add to that. Comfort. Comfort is one of those things that you just have to get over. And I really realized that on the rifle range, that if you're trying to get comfortable and you prioritize comfort over the effectiveness of your shot, then you'll usually miss the shot. And I just wanted to share that piece with people
Please.
because,
Yes.
you know, we try to scale comfortably at times. We try to grow comfortably. And the reality is you're just not going to be comfortable. So in the Marine Corps, we've got 3 ways that we have to shoot. We've got to shoot in the, well, 4 ways actually. So we've got to shoot in the prone. So when you're in the prone, it's uncomfortable because your knees are acting as or your elbows are acting as a tripod in the dirt. And you often have rocks and all kinds of stuff. And then you've got your flak jacket on and it's propped up under you. So you've got all these different things that are creating discomfort for you. But if you focus on those things, you miss your shot. So you got to know that they're there. You can acknowledge them or not, but the goal, yeah, it's all psychology. Then you have the kneeling. And in the kneeling one, it's really interesting because you have to sit. You want to be as stable as possible. And a lot of us are 23, 24, 25, 30, 34, you know, so when you start getting to 26, 27 in Marine Corps years, we call them dog years, your body feels 30, 40. And when you do this properly, this shooting position, you're kneeling on your back foot and your joints are just compacted and tight and everything hurts. Everything below the waist hurts. But if you focus on that, you miss the shot. And then we have the sitting. In the sitting, you're crisscross applesauce with your elbows into the crevices of where your knees bend, and you're trying to find pockets. So we call it bone on bone, bone on bone. When you're bone on bone, you're the most stable. So you're looking to drive your bones into other parts of your bones, your elbows into the knee joints and stick it there. And you want to be a boom, pow, so you can get the recoil and come back. And come back and it hurts. And you'll be in that position for 10, 15 rounds. Bang, clack, bang, clack, stay there. And then when it's standing, the thing about standing is you're wavering. Like when you're 300 yards away and you have to hit a target standing up, it's crazy because you don't have the support. You don't have a tripod. You don't have like a thing to hold on to in the front. You pretty much have to see the target. You have to come down with your rifle. Your weight, like the wind is going like this, your body's going like this. You have no sling support really, and you just have to get right on black, boom, and pull the trigger. And this one is very interesting because when you're standing, there's no stability, no safety net, as we say. So a lot of times in business, we can look for the safety net. The standing is one of the most difficult positions to shoot in because the fundamentals are so crucial. And it's so crucial because if I'm in the prone, I've got like I'm laying down, I've got all the time in the world to reposition and re-get my sighting because I'm in a very stable position. When I move to sitting, I'm in less stable position than when I'm in the prone, meaning laying down, but I'm still solid. When I'm in the kneeling, you know, my upper body's wavering, but I've got a solid base in my kneeling. When I'm standing, there's nothing. There's just me, my body, and the rifle. And what you know, man, here's the last thing I'll give you guys. When it comes to shooting, you cannot muscle the bullet on, we call it muscling. You can't muscle the bullet on target. In other words, if I'm in the prone and or if I'm in a sitting and I've got bone on bone and I try to muscle the target, we call it a reticle. If I try to muscle the reticle onto the target, I'm going to mess up because my muscles are going to fatigue. If you try to build a business without fundamentals, you're going to burn out.
Come on. Hold on. Come on. Say that one more time. Say it one more time. Same way you said it.
If you try to build and scale a business without the fundamentals, you will burn out. The fundamentals hurt. Like when you do the fundamentals right, you're getting up early in the morning. You're working out 1-2 times a day. You're drinking the water. You're missing time with your family. You're grinding every single day. And those are fundamental to business success. And if you try to do this thing while living off of energy drinks, partying all night, or going out, not working out, and you try to muscle it, and you tell yourself, oh, I'm gonna muscle my way through it. Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing in shooting. Like, so the thing that makes the standing so difficult is that you fatigue the fastest. So you can get away with muscling a little bit when you're in those stable base stances, but when you're standing and you've got that rifle and it's coming down and you have a split second, like it's less than a second. You have like a fraction of a second to hit the black. If you don't, you're off and it's over.
So I've got a takeaway. We're going to break away for a moment, go to a break real quick. This will be the last break, but when we come back, I think I've got a nice little summary, and then I'd like Bobby to tie it together and just let me know if what I heard was correct. All right? So enjoy this little clip, and we'll be right back. Let's grow.
I said Shaan right east. I'm proud. I said Shaan right east. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Shaan, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes.
All right. Normally I'll do 2, but I wanted to come back right after that because if you listen to what I say during that clip, you're hearing fundamentals. If you listen to what I say during that commercial, during that break, during that compilation of speaking events, what you're actually hearing is me say fundamentals. And if I've taken away what I think I've taken away from this, is that you were able to scale the business 400% revenue growth, cash collected. We're not talking about hypothesis or hyperbole. We're talking about cash collected, coin, yen, cha-ching. You were able to scale the business 400% cash collected, hand over fist, year after year, because of your deafening attention to the fundamentals. It wasn't any great breakaway, flying ladder that you caught onto or flying carpet that took you. It wasn't hype. It wasn't hype. It wasn't some, you didn't listen to a speech or something you saw on YouTube and get the battery charge. You actually paid attention to the small things, the details, and the fundamentals. And this is why I would even say that you hit the same number. It's like you hit the target over and over again. And it brings to mind what you did when you said your elbows were in your knees and you just kind of like ping, come back, ping, come back, ping, come back year over year, and target after target after target. And one thing that I heard you say, I am my rifle. Like you are the rifle. A Marine is a rifle. Every Marine is a rifle. And we say that I am the brand, that you are the brand. So the same way that the Marine is the rifle and the Marines, the individual, you are the brand in business. And if you're not, if you're separated, if you think there's a disconnect, then there is, but the disconnect is you. And this is what's going to keep your revenue and your growth erratic and happenstance, as opposed to consistent, disciplined, on target, and predictable and repeatable. And that's what scaling is. Scaling is doing the same thing over and over again. You get sore, you get tired, it's not comfortable, it's boring, and it's consistent, it's repeatable, and it's predictable.
Mm-hmm. Man, one thing that I would add very short to this piece is police call. Police call is what we would have to do after shooting on the rifle range, and it sucks. It sucks. Because it's super, super boring. And imagine, no exaggeration, about 200 Marines all outside, and they all just got finished shooting 200 rounds each. I'm not even going to try to do math. So that's thousands of rounds, though, on the ground. And police call is when we all individually get on our hands and knees and pick up every last brass casing. And that's a part of the process. There's no systems. There's nobody that goes and picks it up for you. You shot the rounds, you pick the rounds up, and we walk 5 football fields, no exaggeration, because you got to shoot at the 100, the 200, the 300, and the 500. And at each one of those stages where you have to shoot and be proficient, you have to pick up your brass casings, and that's a lot of rounds. So that was just to lean into that boring stuff. Like nobody likes police call.
Yeah, systematic, and you can't muscle it. I heard you say that too. You can't muscle the bullet where you want it to go, and you can't skip the fundamentals, because if you skip the fundamentals, I'm sure one time too many, you're gone. There is no coming back, right?
Right, 100%. And it's like, it's really incredible that we don't lose many Marines on the rifle range. Like, you've never heard that. A Marine died on the rifle range. Why not? Because we're super disciplined. We are some of the most disciplined people on the face of planet Earth. And we respect our weapon system. And I don't want to go into too much detail there, but like a lot of times we don't respect our craft the way we should.
That's right. We don't take the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of Full Metal Jacket and the movie, and the discipline with the rifle, and the training and the cadence. Like, we don't do the fundamentals in business. We want to fast forward the process and get to the 400% revenue growth
right,
without going through the fundamentals. And when you do that, when you have that kind of a rush mentality, fatalities do take place.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Marines had that kind of a mentality, there would be a lot more fatalities.
A lot more.
Because bad things happen in business when you're not disciplined. Man, this has been tremendous. I do want to end on one point, because you made one point that somebody might not have caught. And guys, I know you guys are jumping into work and, going in and driving in and parking and running and all that stuff. So I bear with me. I really want to give you this. You said something about the importance of a coach. You said something about the importance of a coach paying attention, not being sore like you, as you're getting your pivots right, as you're putting your bone on bone. They're not going through that pain, so they're able to see, because they've done it 20 years ago. They've been here a million times. They know how to see every fatal flaw and fix it. They see every hairline fracture and fix it. They're there to support you, but you'll be in pain while they're supporting you. The more they're supporting you and the more they care, the more they pay attention to detail, the more you probably hate them and the more sore you probably are. But the faster you develop and the faster you hit these targets and the faster you're able to deploy and go into battle and come back safe.
Right. And that's so incredible, Coach, because there is this very interesting thing that we do. It's a tradition. So if you are a coach, a shooting coach, which I was for a few years, you have a backpack that you carry with you that you keep all of your tools in if you're, working on a weapon system or something like that. For me, I didn't have it for that reason, but that's besides the point. However, the big part was what they give you if you help them get the score that they're shooting for. So you have you have marksman, sharpshooter, and expert. And me being the coach, I'm obviously putting them through the pain as they're doing all this stuff and they're hating me over the days and over the hours. And I was a corporal at the time, and a corporal is just an E4. You're very low on the totem pole. And as an E4, the tradition was no matter what your rank is, if you get me expert by following your coaching and your advice, I'll give you my rank. And they take the rank off their collar and they give it to you. And the sign of honor for a coach is to have your backpack, your military backpack, laced with ranks, majors and captains and sergeants and all that stuff. So I thought that was really amazing because I find myself doing that all the time to use, just paying homage and giving what I have and, just being able to give back to the person that put you through the pain, but they put you through the pain so that you could arrive. And I just remember how great that felt, for them to get that expert badge and then for them to take the rank off their collar and to be so much higher ranking than me and give it to me. Let me know I did my job.
Come on. Let's go. I think we could probably have this conversation all day, right? But I know most people have clocked in, checked in to their situation, and hopefully a call like this will help them to strengthen their discipline, strengthen their tenacity, and know that you're in the fight. You're in the fight, and we're there with you. We understand it. Trust me, we get it. And I also hope that if you're in the military, you see how easily you can cross the chasm and translate your education, experience, and expertise in the armed forces to attain the impact, income, and independence that business can afford you. I think Bobby has exemplified that tremendously, and there probably wouldn't be much more of an example than you would need, right? So I would encourage all of you to reach out to Bobby for support and for understanding and for camaraderie, right? Because he understands, he gets it, and he can help you get to where you're trying to go, as well as help you with your financial situation. If your money is up and down like an EKG machine and you don't know whether it's coming or going or where it's coming from or where it went, a CFO like Bobby with consistent 400% revenue growth would probably be one of the best go-tos or coaches that you could have on the rifle range in battle, which is business. It just makes sense. Don't make it harder on yourself than it has to be. Let me ask you this one final thing before we go, Bobby.
Yeah.
Without a coach, is it even possible?
I doubt it.
I really do. You're talking about this, the 500 football fields.
Oh,
without a coach, without training, without the understanding, without all of that stuff, is it even possible? Is it even fathomable?
No, it's not fathomable. It's
not even close.
Not even close. And the only thing that I'll add to that is just that you have to score. So when I say score, you have to get so many points to pass. So sure, you might hit the paper a time or two. You might, hit in black. You might get a time or two, but you have to do it consistently enough to pass. And you got to passing is marksmanship. That's bare bones. If you get expert, you passed, meaning you only dropped so many rounds. And that requires a coach, meaning you might make some sales without one. You might even get a little bit of revenue without one. But if you want to build a business, I think you absolutely must have one.
Okay, we're going to close on that, guys. I agree 1000%. Again, you guys know where Bobby exists. You know where we exist. You know what we do. We're here for you. We want to help you do the same thing. Grow your revenue 400% or 4,000% and add another zero. Bobby, congratulations again, brother, for a phenomenal year, phenomenal attainment, and it's not even over. So I'm really interested to see where you land or take off at the end of the year when you turn your actual numbers in, guys. If you need someone to help you hit your numbers, get where you're supposed to be, and go to the next level in your business, that's why we're here. This is what we do. This is why we say add a 0 to your number, but first you have to add a 0 to you. This has been Shaan Rais and Bobby Jackson again with another phenomenal edition of The Breakfast with the Brand. We'll see you this Saturday. Let's grow.